once again. It's time for the Melting Point, the last edition for the month of November and the last edition for the week. Month of November 2024, let me be specific, But good morning to you once again. My name is SHARON MANDOR. Welcome to the program where we get to dissect issues that borders on the country, where we get to analyze some of these issues and prefer solutions if need be, if necessary. Okay, so welcome to the Melting Point. My name is SHARON MANDOR. I said that before. Alright, so today we have a number of topics that we're going to be discussing, just as we don't have the Melting Point on Friday. So we're going to try, as I always promise, that today we're going to make sure that we use the time judiciously, make sure we also open the phone lines on time for you to join in and drop your 2 cents on any of these issues that are about to talk about. Okay, so welcome. We have in the studio, we're being joined by a public affairs analyst, the president and the founder of Open Forum. Good morning to you, citizen.
Yeah, good morning, Sharon.
Welcome.
Good to be here. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm going to start back home. That the atmosphere in Akwa Ibom State is not, it's not bright as it usually is gloomy and is expected. But the governor on this, really sad loss, the demise of his wife.
It's not just to share our faith and our strength with His Excellency. It is actually for us to reflect as a people on what has befallen us. While coming to the studio, even if you didn't raise it, I was to start with that. And I reflected on the kind of losses in the family I've suffered and how I reacted, how my system, how my being reacted to them. Sincerely, the loss of Her Excellency affected me in a different dimension. How? The shock was so painful because I wasn't aware that she was in the hospital. And I'm somebody that I have very few regrets in life. So I don't give excuses. If I do a thing and it does not work, I'll go back satisfied that I've done everything that I needed to do. And being that I'm public spirited, it is my nature. Sometimes you take the burden of some persons and you want to see what you can do about it, which you can bear witness what we are doing with Open Forum, trying to be the voice to the voiceless. So I didn't have opportunity to pray for Her Excellency when she was ill, because I wasn't aware, and I don't know how many citizens were aware. So with the shock, I was pained. I was deeply pained. But we must rise above anything that His Excellency is exuding is so fatherly. I've suffered a terrible loss. My partner for almost 40 years. 2 days ago, he was at the National Assembly presenting budget. He's been everywhere, here and there. Sometimes he laughs, he shakes hands with people, and if you don't know that this man is bereaved, you may never get to know. That's the kind of strength that a father radiates to the children, to encourage them. But deep down, I know that definitely he's reflecting on certain things, and my prayers that God will give him not just the outward strength, but the inner strength. And two, I want to suggest, maybe after the burial, His Excellency may wish to go on his annual leave. He should just take some time out to rest and recuperate, and then we can maybe have the first female deputy governor, acting deputy governor of Akwa Ibom State, while His Excellency takes his deserved rest, even if it's just for 2 weeks, even if it's going to be for a month, whatever, it's an official thing. He deserves that rest because our body tells. I am a senior citizen now by age, but I walk like a teenager. I do the work of 3 to 5 people virtually every day of my life. I know what it means. No matter the pretense, no matter I seem as if I am this and that, I know how I feel. So that is just my appeal, and I want to believe that the aides of His Excellency and associates and stakeholders should be able, if they have not thought of this, they should be able to appeal to His Excellency, or maybe even compel His Excellency Your Excellency, it's time to rest. After all, security men around big men, they are the ones that regulate their lives. They say, can we go? I say, no, the area is not okay yet. And the Excellency will stay back. So that is my advocacy. By the grace of God, I'm going to also attend the burial tomorrow. It's something that as many people as possible, even just for a minute, just get down there within that vicinity and offer prayers for God to give the mother of the state rests, and then the legacies she has left behind. The greatest legacy that I know, which we captured in our message to His Excellency, is the golden boy, the golden era, the golden initiative for all. Everything about Her Excellency, late Pastor Mrs. Patience Umoino, everything was golden, and that has to be sustained. And whatever is done, we have adopted part of that as our initiative in Open Forum. We call it Happy Hour for All, happy Hour of Renewed Hope for All, because we try to bring something from the state, bring something from the federal, and then bring something from a woman who left that legacy. She didn't have much time to leave some project that people have been pointing to, so they just keep on saying she did so well. No, we have to be very specific. If she had had the time, she would have done wonders, but the golden initiative is what we will hold on the rest of our lives. May God, and everybody of goodwill, may God grant us the strength to bear the loss.
Amen. All right. Thank you very much, Citizen. I think about 2-3 weeks ago, was both of us that had this conversation on the melting point.
Yeah.
Where we were talking about how the number 1 and the number 2 citizens of the country are out of the country, and people are talking about vacuum in leadership, and there are a lot of backlash that came from that decision for the president to leave the country, and then the vice president also leaving the country. Now it has happened again. The president and his wife, that's the first lady, have arrived France, and the vice president has also departed Nigeria to go to Cote d'Ivoire yesterday. What are your thoughts on this? Because people are saying, Nigerians are saying that even with the way people reacted from the first time, from the last time it happened, for this to still happen is in a very short period, it only means that, I'm just saying the words of certain Nigerians, only means that some of these people are not listening.
It doesn't have to mean, because what you know, you cannot by any reason pretend not to know, except there is something fundamentally wrong. We have leadership issues. What was even used as a campaign, even outside the shores of Nigeria, that the problem of Nigeria is not even the citizens, it is leadership failure. And we've seen clearly that leadership failure being magnified. There is hardly any country that I've even read about or got to know where the president and the vice president will leave and they don't hand over power to anybody. Nature abhors vacuum. As we speak, there's vacuum in the country. God forbid that something happens. What happens? Who speaks with authority? Remember, governance, there's processes. There's power and there's authority. So you may have the power, you don't have the authority. And somebody must be saddled with both. Unfortunately, like you said, our leaders don't listen, because what matters is them. And it is unacceptable, because that takes them away from being leaders. It turns them into rulers. They do what they want. And it turns the citizens from being citizens to subjects, who should just be wait for directive. What fella used to call zombie. Zombie no go unless they tell them to go. Zombie no go eat unless they tell them to eat, and all of that. So it's unacceptable. But what do? That is where advocacy by the civil society and by opinion leaders comes into play. And the media. Remember, the media is captured in the Constitution as being the watchdog Unfortunately, politicians have infiltrated the media space. They own a number of the media houses, and what they do is just to churn out what their paymasters want. But there are others that are still doing it. No matter how you are branded, you still do what you're supposed to do. So it's unacceptable. It is unacceptable, and there's no way they can explain that, because all these things are scheduled long before now. None of those things happen suddenly. The leadership capacity is to do the needful. That, okay, we cannot leave now. The secretary to the federal government is there, because even another method that I have seen happen occasionally is where you have the Senate president being directed to go and represent the president. That's a different tier completely. If this trend continues, it means that someday you will have the Chief Justice of the Federation being asked to go and represent the president or even the vice president somewhere. It's unacceptable. These are different arms of government. The president. There is a divide. We are not progressing, not because we would have loved to retrogress, but we are being forced to retrogress. And for some of us who will not give spade any other name, we will keep saying it because our posterity will record. In your era, this happened. What did you say? And those that keep silent and those that defend the defensible, I'm sure they will be on the same line. And those who at least say something, even if you were wrong, even if you couldn't say it well, you'll be on the side of those that raise their voice to say this is how things can be done and it will be better for all of us. So it's unexplainable, unacceptable.
Thank you very much, Citizen. Let's move on to the next conversation of interest. And this is another conversation that both of us have had. And I remember you calling it the controversial tax reform bills. Mm-hmm. And the Senate will debate the tax reform bill today and may subsequently pass it for second reading. Yesterday, the economic team of the president attended the plenary are necessary. They've mentioned things like the people that are not earning, individuals that are not earning up to $1 million naira annually will not be taxed, and that they are going to be taxing the rich more than the poor, giving various reasons why the tax reform bills must fly. But what are you expecting after today?
Well, we should reflect on what happened yesterday. Mm. Yesterday, the Senate was in a very rowdy session. The Deputy Senate President, Barrow, presided because the Senate President, I guess, is attending events that did not allow him to preside. Mm. So the Deputy Senate President, Barrow, presided. And when that matter was the issue of allowing some representatives of the President to come in, or the economic team to come in to the Senate chambers, it was debated that it does not meet with the rules because they are not among the class of persons that are captured in the rules of the National Assembly to be allowed. So the Deputy Senate President said they have to waive the rules to allow them. As if that was not enough, the former Senate leader, who was removed from his strong stance on what he called bad leadership, he called the administration, which he is a key member, that it is made up of kleptocrats and kakistocrats. That's people that don't know anything and thieves. And that did not go down well, so he was removed from his position, but he's still a senator. And he raised an issue bordering on the rules again. What was that? He said that that very item was not captured in the order paper. It's like going to court. Your matter must be listed to be heard on that day. And the lawyers, when they call, lawyers, they have that small until smaller, more junior lawyers will come last, except where they have a waiver. They say, okay, Oh, thank you, my learned senior, for allowing me to take my case. And but this one, there was no listing of that tax reform bill on the other paper. That by itself, even to lay people, is questionable. The Deputy Senate President also said, no, it does not matter. We're going to hear it. And a suggestion was made. Make a supplementary order paper, capture it, because it is something that if the process is not followed through, we'll have somebody go to court, and that will be cited. And when the judiciary that is supposed to be impartial looks at it and will say, the matter, you not go through due process. Yes, the door was locked. So how did you manage to enter the house? Are you going to argue in court that you are a spirit? That is just the analogy. So I saw something that may be a lacuna for those who may exploit later on. Because as we speak now, and most interestingly, apart from Bamidele, who is the Senate leader, all the speakers, virtually everybody that contributed to the discussion that from the version that I read, are all from the North, including the Deputy Senate President. And you got to know that the North met as governors, as sultan, as emirs, took a decision that they don't want the tax reforms because it's going to affect them, according to them, adversely. And they have the Vice President, who is a Northerner, Shetima, who is also the chairman of the National Economic Council. They now took the case to him as Northerners and they adopted it. And what did they do? They were able to maybe lobby the Southern governors too. Southern governors, without any report that they have held any think tank or stakeholders forum to take a decision, acceded to the Northern position that they don't want that bill. And they wrote to the Mr. President that unanimously, all of us, all the governors, we don't want the tax reforms. And the Mr. President said, no, you go to the National Assembly and slug it out. So he insisted. But what are really the critical issues, just for purpose of this conversation?